Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about, did they start moving on before the breakup?
This is a really common question in breakups.
Yeah, because, if you really think about it, if you're in a commitment with somebody and you know them and you're spending time with them all the time, you know how you're feeling about it. They know how they're feeling about it. And if they're unhappy about things, if they're not happy that the relationship is going the way they want it to go, or maybe somebody is losing emotional self-control and you're caught in that anxious avoidant trap, whatever it may be, when those things happen, people start to think about if this is really working for them. And when they start to think about that, they start to plan ahead and think about life without you. They start to detach. Maybe they start breaking routines where, a couple of weeks before that breakup, they stopped coming over.
Yeah, and these things happen. A lot of times in this period of time, they're feeling ambivalent. So they're on the fence. They might be having doubts in the relationship. They might be not telling you. Maybe because of their attachment style, they're afraid of how you might react. They think that nothing will change. So there can be a lot of reasons as to why they hold these doubts to themselves. And during this period of time, they might not be committed fully to breaking up, but they're just observing what's happening in the interim. They're saying, okay, well, I'm not sure. Let me see how my partner comports themselves for the next couple months or so.
Yeah, like they're thinking to themselves, well, if it gets better, then we can turn this around. But if they don't change or they don't do these things that I've asked them to do, I can't take it anymore.
Exactly. They could also be curious about someone else.
Very true.
And this is, when I hear people ask this question about, did they already start moving on before the actual breakup happened? Sometimes that's what they're asking. Do you think that there was somebody else in the picture that kind of made it easier for them to detach? Sometimes when you're asking this question, you're asking from a place of, did I miss something? Was I blind to something? Because we're really trying hard to understand what happened in our breakup. Sometimes it is the case that if they're feeling detached from the relationship, maybe some of their needs aren't getting met. Maybe they have doubts. They're not voicing them to you. Maybe some of their attachment style is starting to come up, whether they're more anxious or avoidant. Maybe they're anxious, not getting their needs met, not wanting to bring it up out of fear that you'll leave. Or maybe they're more avoidant and starting to feel the relationship get more intense. And so now other people are looking shiny and interesting and new.
Magical.
Yes. So they start to fantasize outside of the relationship. Maybe they meet somebody at work or, I don't know, at the post office or wherever people meet nowadays.
The post office, that's what came to mind.
And they start to come up with these fantasies about, well, if I was
all those people delivering handwritten letters, and that's how they meet.
Probably. maybe they meet with.
You got a handwritten letter? I'm writing one too.
Oh, I love your handwriting.
Oh, really?
I'd like the little emojis you put in the handwritten letter.
Let's put it in the box together.
Oh my gosh.
The letter I'm talking about.
What else could you be talking about?
You'll figure it out later.
When I'm older. Anyways, my point was sometimes there will be this fantasy outside of the relationship. What if a relationship with somebody else didn't have the issues that I'm facing now? What if, those problems didn't exist? Spoiler alert, that other person probably has other problems that would come up in the relationship, sometimes worse. So this is, a fantasy that comes into mind because, they could be unhappy with something in the relationship and afraid to bring it up.
Yeah. And oftentimes you have to consider that when we're growing up, we don't get a lot of our needs met. And so people that didn't get their needs met by their caregivers are in this fantasy that their partners should magically meet all these needs. And you've heard that when people say you should know. How many times do you hear that? You should know. Yeah. You should know what I'm wanting you to do. You should know.
I think the new one is if he wanted to, he would, or if they wanted to, they would.
But the should is like that they expect you to read their mind. And to me, that's like a child, like you're a small child and their parents should know how to take care of them. So now they expect their romantic partners to magically take care of them without expressing their needs. So I think that also comes into play with a lot of people so now they think this magical new person is going to know how to meet all their needs without communicating like an adult. You see what I'm saying? So that's why you're going to see a lot of fantasizing about new people, especially from people that didn't get their needs met.
And I think there's this dream of this perfect relationship. So for some people, when real problems start to come up, stress, work, life, these types of things, it can be a challenge to navigate those. And so there can be this idea of this other relationship is, going to fix all of my problems, because relationships shouldn't be hard or don't need to require this much work.
Relationships are supposed to be easy.
Yeah.
How many avoidants say that one?
Yeah. So it could be something to where they're holding these things to themselves, afraid to bring them up, not wanting to, stir up the pot, disturb the peace in the relationship, and end up slowly detaching because of that. That's why we say, when we hear some people saying, oh, well, we never fought, we never had any arguments, that's not always a positive thing, because sometimes when there is conflict, it's because somebody's bringing up something that's bothering them authentically. And sometimes dealing with that conflict, talking about it, is better than stuffing it down and pretending that it doesn't exist and then slowly being inauthentic in your relationship.
Yeah, maybe they stop talking about it because they feel like, well, every time we talk about it, it doesn't get any better. I don't feel heard. I don't feel understood. You just argue with me and defend yourself. People get defensive. And so your ex can get drained.
Oh, yeah.
Exhausted, discouraged, disheartened that things aren't going to get any better.
Yeah, they get really tired of bringing up the issues. And maybe they are people who are really direct, and maybe they have brought up their doubts, and they might be having this sense of hopelessness in the relationship of, I've told you 10 times that I don't like how you put the dish in the dishwasher, or whatever it might be.
In my opinion, it's usually the anxious person that's more vocal about those things, and they've expressed it over and over again, and then they get to a place where, like, this is pointless. No matter what I ask you to do, or no matter how many times I say this to you about this issue, it doesn't get any better.
And this can go back to what I had said earlier with many of you were asking, was there something that I missed? Some of you are more avoidant, and you were in a relationship with somebody who's anxious, and there might have been concerns that they've brought up or doubts that they've brought up that you have missed. So this is another thing to consider. Think about this period of time. The last couple months of your relationship, sometimes people can start having doubts even years, sometimes if it's a very long-term relationship. So think about that tail end of your relationship, things that they might have brought up, what could have been missed, if there was complacency on your end, if there were mental health issues that came up, depression, anxiety, all of those things, stress, because all of those things could have played a part. So being able to reflect back and see, okay, what was happening during this time period? Was there something that I missed at that point that they were trying to tell me? And that could be helpful for your own self-reflection.
Absolutely. And this is what we're trying to tell you, is that you have to think about these issues and really figure out what you're going to do differently when they come back. If you're only focusing on no contact, where are they at? What are they doing? Who are they talking to? Are they going to come back? You're never really going to be prepared, because the doubts that we've just discussed, your ex has thought about this probably 10 times over. And many people get blindsided when their ex comes back because they haven't really figured out why they were unhappy, why they wanted to leave, how they had been thinking about ending things for a while before they ended them. And so if you don't figure out what you're going to do differently, how you're going to have something more positive where both people can get those needs met when they come back, they're just going to be like, there's no point to this because we're just going to wind up breaking up again.
Yeah. So it's important to consider both sides of things. Yes, your ex might have been suppressing a lot of things that were bothering them, keeping it bottled up, or there could have been things that went missed that you didn't see in the moment comments that they've made over and over again that you didn't see as important as they really were until the breakup. So it's important to consider both sides of these things. But yes, typically people will think about breaking up before it happens. Yes, there are impulsive breakups. Yes, there are breakups that happen when a person really doesn't want to. We have other videos on that as well. But just to keep in mind, yes, there is that period of detachment and that's normal, but also remember that feelings change.
Absolutely.
So an actual breakup is different than an imagined breakup. Many people in that period of time, months before, they're thinking about, oh man, what would life be like if I'm out of this relationship? I'm free. I could live the fantasy with the man at the post office or whatever. So they have this different idea.
He knows how to put it in the box.
I feel like that's a joke I'll get when I'm older.
I'll explain after this video.
But it's important to remember that all of that is different than actual lived experience and what it's like to be away from you, what it's like to actually be alone, what it's like to be away from your support and all of the good things that you've poured into the relationship. So you want to be able to give your ex that space after the breakup. They might have been thinking about this for a while. It probably was a difficult decision for them. It didn't come easy, which is a positive thing. You know, it means that they've considered a lot of different options. This wasn't just something that was, oh yeah, that person, I'm gone, right? No, this is something that they've thought about and struggled with. So give them that space. Allow them to experience what they think they want to experience and give them that opportunity to have that.
Absolutely. And one last thing. Sometimes your ex is not going to give you honest, accurate reasons as to why you broke up. And so it can be really hard to decipher if it's authentic that they really did think those things ahead of time, or now they're just having to tell you something at the breakup to get you to leave them alone, right? So those things can be challenging to navigate too. And we always talk about those things on the call where it's like, okay, that feels authentic or that feels like BS.
Right. So there's a lot of things to consider. We know that breakups can be really confusing at times. We know that you're trying to wrap your mind around this. Nobody wants to feel duped. Nobody wants to feel like they were with a partner that was checked out for months or years even. Right? Because then we feel foolish. Well, okay, was I in this and they didn't even care? They were thinking about their exit strategy this whole time.
Sure.
Most likely they were ambivalent. Most likely they were thinking about a lot of different things. There might have been moments where they felt connected. There might have been moments where they felt detached. So it's part of the human experience. Decision making is hard. We have to be able to give them that decision.
All right. Hopefully this one's been helpful to you. If you'd like to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. Coach Victoria is also available for Zoom calls.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name at the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.